Good morning again, and let me welcome all of you to one of the most beautiful spots in Port of Spain. And if everything in Port of Spain looked like this, I wouldn't have reason to ask the media to come this morning to the launch of an exhibition on street dwelling. Essentially, the exhibition is titled Street Dwelling, The Shame of Port of Spain, Q.E.D. Q.E.D, for those of you who did not do maths in the old model, Q.E.D is what you would have signed off after you would have proved a theory, a geometry theory, you would have, or a trigonometry theory, you would have put Q.E.D. And so the title of the exhibition is Street Dwelling, The Shame of Port of Spain, Q.E.D, Mayor Louis Leasing, this date. I propose, after making my statement, to walk with you along the exhibition and to explain to you the reasons why each piece, and I have 39 pieces of exhibits in the exhibition here. It is intended in the main to speak for itself. That having been said, I wish to point out that the exhibition coincides with the final week of official responsibilities as the mayor of our capital city. At my swearing-in ceremony, I raised the issue of street dwelling as something to be addressed during my term, and indeed I did. Today, I recognize that the central government, with all its resources, has refused to address critical matters affecting the lives of the citizenry and the burgesses of Port of Spain and East Port of Spain in particular. I have concluded that such non-action is born out of fear to do the right thing, and that this is matched only by this government's ineptness and incompetence to address the things that matter most. I knew very early in the day that Port of Spain would still be plagued by street dwelling long after I left office, and so one might argue this is a matter that could be with us for a long time unless the citizens rally together to force the government, and that is any government, to take brave, noble action to address street dwelling. What frightens me more than anything is the huge cost, the sums being spent by the government, and on the face of the evidence, we the citizens enjoy very limited returns. The Minister of the People, Dr. Glenn Ramadas Singh, continues to quote figures of persons rehabilitated and removed from our streets. Such data may or may not be accurate. However, on the evidence, that is, persons remaining on the streets as street dwellers, it appears the minister's facts are not in sync with reality. During the last year, I walked with my camera, and many of you may not know it, but in the days when I was a reporter, starting as a cub reporter, you had to have a camera because we weren't as fortunate as some of you today to have a cameraman with you as a reporter. So you had to learn to bring your own pictures in with your story. And so during the last year, I walked with my camera documenting the challenges. And today I share with the citizens some of what I captured. I have been selective lest I shock the public's sensibilities. I've also presented some of the statements carried by the media on the matter. Much of these reports remain relevant today as of now. I have embellished my photographs, the selected newspaper articles with appropriate captions. I believe each piece has a specific reference to the challenge that Dr. Ramadas Singh and the Prime Minister are unable to grasp. Ending street dwelling requires a specific plan that speaks to mandatory rehabilitation of those who are mentally ill, those who are drug addicts, as well as treating in a holistic way and creative manner with the needs of deportees that are growing in numbers and persons who have fallen through the cracks. The evidence shows that more and more people are becoming homeless owing to the withdrawal of work programs such as CPEP and URP, particularly in areas such as East Port-of-Spain and the East-West corridor. During the last 3 years, I have sat with several ministerial and interministerial teams as the collective sought to find answers. I have long concluded that much of the meetings were time wasted, as the persons in attendance at the aforementioned have chosen to remain locked inside a box. I wouldn't say the box, I'm saying a box. Further, I have formed the opinion that the minister and cabinet is neither serious nor prepared to take the required action to establish a street-dwelling village where the rules, regulations, and organized rehabilitation can be accommodated in a professional atmosphere. Given the above stated, I felt it would encourage a greater awareness of the challenge if I were to share with the general public my perspective of where we are today in respect to the challenge, which will not go away unless we get serious as a nation. In this regard, my street exhibition is my final appeal as mayor to the Prime Minister and her cabinet to get it right and fix street dwelling. May I also add that the real burdens of street dwelling fall really squarely on the shoulders of ordinary citizens. Time and again, you would no doubt have walked around the savannah and you would see right around a dustbin, heaps of garbage around a dustbin. And the reality is that the garbage really came from in the bin. It would have been pulled out by some street dweller rummaging through the bin to find God alone knows what other than food. And so the same happens all over the country. Many of you complain almost on an hourly basis. I get calls from members of the public indicating that this street or that street is in a sad state, that it reeks of human feces and what have you. The reality, however, is that the Port-of-Spain Corporation cleans these streets on a daily basis. We would clean Treasury Street, and 5 minutes after the watering trucks and the pressure washing trucks have moved on, a street dweller would come along and do his personal. This tells me that we are setting up ourselves for any eventuality. I made the point early in my term that if cholera were to hit this country, given the street dwelling population in this country and the possibility of the disease passing on and on, perhaps half of Port-of-Spain or half of Trinidad and Tobago would be wiped out. Bear in mind that the fixed population of Port-of-Spain is just about 50,000, but that we cater on a daily basis to 350,000 persons. It tells you that the daily population is really many times over the numbers of Port-of-Spain, and therefore, if something happens in Port-of-Spain, it would rebound and ricochet throughout the landscape. I am appealing again, therefore, for the powers that be to recognize that now is not a time to play politics with this matter, but now is a time to accept the burden of your responsibility. If you can't do the job in this country, don't volunteer for it. What I have found with the government of the day is that there are too many people in office who can't do the job, but continue to volunteer for the assignment. That having been said, I am open to any questions that you may have. It is a commitment I made to myself as one of the strategies to address street dwelling in the country. You would recall that when I came into office, we attempted to show the government one way of doing it when we did 4 street dwelling exercises. And those exercises gave us the real facts about the nature of the problem. Next, we entered into discussion, and for near 2 years, I have been participating in collaboration with Minister Ramadas Singh, who, as you know, is a veterinarian doctor, but he is the minister of the people. And sometimes I wonder whether the juxtaposition of the two is what gives us the conflicts that we encounter in dealing with these people issues. Street dwelling is really a people's issue. And so I want to say to you, having had to sit in these meetings, I have proposed to them, I said, look, if you put that rehabilitation center in the plaza down on Piccadilly Street there, Port of Spain will always have street dwellers. San Juan will always have street dwellers. Tunapuna, Arima, you name it, will always have street dwellers. I said, let us become creative. Let us create a street dwelling village. And in that village, put all the facilities and needs that are required to rehabilitate street dwellers. In other words, you would have an acceptance center where you would test people to see if they are HIV positive, whether they are mentally ill, whether they are drug addicts and what have you, so that you would know what area of the village you will assign them occupation. And truly bring in people to assist in rehabilitating people. When you see people crawling on their behinds at the corner of Park and Frederick Street, you know that that person is either mentally unsound or a drug addict. That is not the behavior of the deportee. We know the behavior of the deportee. We know the behavior of the persons who have fallen through the cracks. And so this is a continuation of the exercise on the part of the corporation. And I, being the only person in office at this time, felt we could not conclude our term without signaling to the powers that be that enough is enough and they have to get up and treat with the matter. Any other questions? Well, when we walk through the exhibition comprises of 39 pieces. It begins with the title, which is on this gate here, and we go all the way down. I have proposed in the final slide a course of action that I hope to encourage the public to engage in. I truly believe that every citizen should write the Prime Minister and the Minister of the People, demanding that something be done about street dwelling. Let me see the Prime Minister and the government not do something when they receive an avalanche of letters on the matter at hand. By me as Mayor of Port of Spain. Next we have the reason why I'm doing this. As you know, Kitchener made this famous statement in one of his popular 1970 calypsos. Oh, what a country, oh, what an awful place. And I am arguing that street dwelling, we have to stop talking about it and deal with it. I'm further saying that unless everybody in Trinidad and Tobago, both the individual and the collective, get together and decide to fix it, we will always have it. This is a newspaper story. You all will know your bylines, where the ministry says it's going to remove 20 people off the streets a day. Well, it seems as though they don't pass around Port of Spain, because the 20 people are probably being moved off Chagonas and other places. The street dwelling population remains in Port of Spain. And so I'm saying too little has been done for too much. We are spending millions and I am not seeing the evidence. This was one of our 4 attempts to show the government, listen, get on with street dwelling. When we began to pick up people, everybody complained. It is still here with us. This was one of the early statements I gave where I talked about mandatory drug rehabilitation for street dwellers and drug addicts who are brought before the courts on more than 3 occasions for loitering. I gave them the plan. This is an illustration of what is going on. This is the middle of the city. This is two sides of the same coin. Two sides of the same coin. This can't be human. Is this what we want for our society? Is this what the capital should be? But who is paying? Who is being held accountable? A woman gets 42 stitches after a street dweller attacks her. Who is paying this woman? And who is being held accountable? I say the Prime Minister and Glenn Ramadas Singh, Dr. Glenn Ramadas Singh, the minister should be held accountable. That is my position. Government to spend 10 million on home for the homeless. Where is it? That was 2 years ago. Where is the home for the homeless? Too little has been done for too much money. That's my position on this. And of course, we had a debate among school children in the city hall, and all of them chose to speak about street dwelling. You remember that? All of them. So that it is not only the people like myself who are concerned, the children are concerned. This is Frederick Street right here, right here. Look the gate over there. 12 noon in the day I took this photograph. This is the promenade. Is this what we want? Are we too selfish to demand a better society? Homeless man goes on the rampage. You remember when he licked up the Parliament building? Are they still not concerned about this? What if the man had gotten into the Parliament building and dealt some of them blows? Maybe then they would have done something. All right? And so I am saying, when things like this happen, we have to bow our heads in shame. Now some say this is a bad dream and it will go away. I don't feel it will go away unless we make it go away. Okay? Then this is, you see, I've carried both sides. The government, I've carried the government side. The ministry plan has been put into action. It will work only if enough study and traffic. And they tell you what Dr. Ramadas Singh is doing. This is not my statement, but the evidence is clear. Now, Dr. Ramadas Singh said that 125 persons were removed from the nation's streets. What evidence is that? Are you all convinced that has happened in Port of Spain? I am asking this question today. And so I am saying, you see this is just another fantasy. And so I've asked, stop talking. When he said this, I say stop talking and start acting on vagrants. Do it the real way. It's not only my word, it's not only your word. These are the letters. This is an email I got recently from September 5th from a resident in Woodbrook. This is a letter written to the editor by Wayne Dobson about things in Woodbrook. And this, I couldn't resist. This is my favorite piece in the exhibition. When I saw these feet, I knew the caption beforehand. If feet could speak, what would these feet say to our Prime Minister? You tell me. Look at this fellow. Friday evening on South Key. This man is sitting down on a culvert, oblivious of all the traffic passing him. And they tell me they're fixing it. They're not fixing it. Letters to the editor calling on the government to do something. Letters to the editor. We got to get more letters to the editor. We have to fill the place with that. This must not continue. This man is walking through the traffic oblivious of anything. Drug addiction or mental instability. These are the realities. Is this what we want for our children? I say we have got to stop this. I say we have got to think about these things and stop it. I say we owe it to our children to fix this. Why is it these two people must find a bed on the pavements of the street? Must we always bow our heads in shame? This is unacceptable. You think that is bad? This is a dear man carrying his wife. Look at this. This is not a doll. This is a real person. He's carrying his spouse in a basket. What kind of country is this? And we are spending $60 billion this year? I say no. This gentleman sitting down by the Ministry of the People, amidst all the canal water. Right? I say, in response to all of this, we are not human. What kind of government spends $200 billion over 3 years and cannot fix street dwelling? That is the question. Tic-tac-toe. Tic-tac-toe. I have left this board blank for people to write their own captions. Write your own captions on this photograph. Some say this government loves. You remember the talk, we will rise? We are not rising. We are sinking. And I want to point out, nothing the minister says will change this. This man is sitting down at the Supiani roundabout, oblivious to cars all over around him. Can we accept this? What happened to the Prime Minister's plan? I saw that document only last night, where she set up a task force. What has happened to this task force on street dwelling? But if you want to know the best, this is the Ministry of Social Development and the People. This is the, listen to me, this is a picture taken by the Ministry of Social Development and the People. So then what else do I ask of you? What else do I ask of you? Let me say to you, yes, Prime Minister, yes, Minister Ramadan Singh, I will never accept this, ever. This is my signature. I asked, you would see this is an article from last year, Christmas gift for Port of Spain. I asked for this Christmas gift for 2012. I am asking again for the same gift for the Christmas of 2013. And so, what is the action we must all take? We've got a right to demand, the media demanding the government moves to truly look after street dwelling. We've got a right to the Prime Minister and copy the Ministry of the People demanding urgent remedial action. We've got a right to the Prime Minister demanding increased facilities for the mentally ill and persons suffering from drug addiction. Instead of spending money on roads and things that we don't need, let us build a mental health institution which this country needs, like hot bread, not sliced bread, because you don't need it there. Support the call for mandatory rehabilitation and for drug addicts and mentally ill persons roaming our country streets. That is the action. And I ask everybody who write to these people to copy me on these letters so that I could follow it up. It is wrong when the only time a government moves is when a fella like Kublal Singh goes and near kills himself on the steps of the office of the Prime Minister, that the government is prepared to listen. It is wrong. I believe if you accept the job, if you volunteer for the job, understand that it is not going to be an easy job. When I undertook to be the mayor, I knew it was going to be a difficult road. But I brought to the job some of the skills that I had, and this is part of the exercise. I could have gone my merry way this week and walked out of City Hall because I really have very little in City Hall. But this is not how you do it. If you accept to be the mayor, you take the challenge down to the end. And so that too has been proven. What we need to do is to come to a consensus that a street dwelling village that speaks to true rehabilitation is the way to go. We've got to accept that mandatory rehabilitation for drug addicts in this country and mentally ill people is something that we support. But the government has all the votes. They just ramrod into the annals of this country proportional representation, and you know, none of you spoke about it. Was there any debate and discussion on proportional representation? No. And so I'm saying to you, if this government wanted to fix street dwelling, they could fix it. They don't want to. And so I must tell them they don't want to. You must tell them they don't want to.
We're unable to force everyday citizens to seek treatment. We're unable to force them into rehabilitation centers. Is it any different for street dwellers? Wouldn't that be breaking human rights? I'm
saying to you, a country has a responsibility to look after its most vulnerable. In this matter, people who have found themselves on the streets certainly fall into the category of being most vulnerable, and therefore the country has a responsibility to look after them.